Something that we've been wanting to talk about from the very beginning since we started this channel was body image. So today we're just gonna start getting into that. It's obviously a huge topic and we can only cover so much, but we wanted to, have a bit of a cozy chat as we like to do and just share our thoughts and our experiences, and hopefully this will help some of you guys. Last week, I had an incident that got me thinking about my body image a lot because I went to the doctors, I went to the nurse for a checkup, and as part of that checkup, she had me step on the scales. I don't weigh myself at home, and I knew that I'd put on a bit of weight. I felt it in myself, my clothes have not been fitting as well, all that stuff, but I wasn't really that bothered. It is what it is. But the nurse made comments like, oh, you've gained a lot of weight, oh, that's a lot, oh, has someone been eating a lot of chocolate? Rude. First of all, Nurse Sally, it's none of your business if I've been eating a lot of chocolate.
Just called out Nurse Sally.
I just got upset. It put me in such a bad mood, and then I got upset because I was upset. You know when you think, why do I care? And then it just makes you more upset because you're kind of frustrated by the fact that you care. She was making all these comments about how I should really try to lose weight, all that stuff. Before I'd walked in that doctor's office, I didn't care.
Happy as a clam.
I wasn't having any of these thoughts about my weight. I wasn't unhappy by any means, and then it was like within 10 minutes my whole mood changed.
Yeah, your whole
and I came
perception.
home and suddenly it was like, I need to be on a diet, I need to do this, I need to do that. Just because of what one person said to me. That just got me thinking about how easy it is from your mood in regards to your body image or self-esteem to go from 100 to 0 real quick.
There's kind of a difference between what you've just talked about and what happens to me, which is I wake up and I decide that I have gained 2 stone overnight. I do that a lot.
I think everyone has that. You have your body fluctuates. There are so many things that can make you bigger or smaller on any given day, especially for women. Hormones play a huge part in how we feel in ourselves, how we look, whether you're bloated, all that stuff, the time of the month. I think it's very easy to forget that that is just your body doing its thing.
You just have to be realistic about your perception of yourself. Like with you in that the Sally incident,
the Nurse Sally incident.
Your whole perception of your body, how you felt about yourself, all that.
It was a mind fuck because I went in there not even thinking about it, and then I came out and suddenly I wanted to change everything, and it was this thing in my, now I have to lose weight and I have to do this and I have to do that, and those were thoughts that hadn't even crossed my mind an hour earlier. You can do that to yourself as well. It doesn't even have to be someone
from
making
someone else.
comments.
No, it can be just you.
You have to just make an effort to check yourself
before you wreck yourself.
And just bring yourself back down to reality. If one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel fine, or you have like no thoughts, because that happens a lot of the time, it's not even something that crosses my mind. I'm not bothered, I'm just going about my day. I'm not thinking about my body. And then there will be some days where I'm like hyper aware of my body and every aspect of my body, and I feel either uncomfortable in it or just I'm aware of it.
It's there.
As a thing.
It's very there.
So a big trigger for this kind of thing and these kinds of feelings that just play with your head and change your perception of yourself is clothes and clothes sizes. We have all been conditioned to think that certain sizes are more attractive than other sizes or more aspirational. And really, clothes sizes are bullshit. Like, it's just a kind of arbitrary way of measuring
what item of clothing to put on your body. Like, it's not that
it's
deep.
measuring like the diameter of a t-shirt. It's not measuring a human.
Or your worth or anything to do with that. For me, it was such a huge thing, clothes size. I used to be a lot bigger than I am now, and I lost about 5.5 stone, and I put some of it back on, but at my lowest weight I was desperate to convince myself that I was a size 14, UK size 14. I made this huge thing in my head about like I have to be a size 14, I have to be a size 12, all because of one stupid comment that an idiot made to me once where they said, you'll never be pretty if you're not a size 12. It's all lies. I'm a size 16, so what does that mean about me? Nothing. It just means that I fit into a certain category of garment. It's just not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue, and it is for so many people out there. When I was young, I had a friend, this was when I was about 10 or something, who was a size 6, and I definitely was not a size 6. I was a really big kid. That was the aspiration that I set for myself as a child, and it's just so silly. It does not say anything about you.
Yeah.
It's just a number. That's all it is. The same with stepping on the scales, really. It's just a measure. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. Don't trick yourself into believing that it's something more than that.
All these things can be used as very, very basic, vague guides. Even things like BMI. I don't really believe in BMI as a measurement of how healthy you are, because bodybuilders can rank as morbidly obese.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Because of their BMI. I don't believe in that, but that is used in the medical profession as like a very kind of vague way. Like they need some kind of way to determine these things. They come up with these calculations to have some way of putting people into categories, but you shouldn't necessarily apply that to yourself. There's no correlation between your weight and how healthy you are. This is what I think people have twisted.
Yeah.
Is that the goal is always the number on the scale or dress size. You could be a size 20 and be running marathons.
Yeah.
It happens. It's not difficult.
I mean,
for you
at
to get your
my
head
biggest, I was bigger than a size 20. When I was at my biggest, I was, you know, what would be considered by most people's standards pretty large. I was running for an hour every day. So that whole thing of believing that someone who's bigger can't be healthy, or that someone who is maybe smaller than average size is more healthy, it's just not accurate, I don't think.
It's also equally important to remember that there is no direct correlation between how your body looks and how happy you may or may not be. And this isn't even just about weight. I feel like weight is the easiest way to kind of simplify this body image thing, because for a lot of people that is the number one issue. For a lot of people, weight isn't even on their agenda. It could be other things. It could be the shape of their body, regardless of weight. Those two things aren't necessarily connected either. It could be how muscular they are. Everyone has their own thing that they would prefer to have their body look like.
I always felt like I was less than other people who were around me because I didn't look the same way that they did. It was the in thing at the time to be very thin. All the popular girls were thin and I wasn't.
Yeah, there was this kind of connection between being thin and being cool.
Yeah.
It's so weird to think about as an adult. Why was that?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And also, the thing that's crazy to me now is I have cousins who are younger than me. They're at school, and for them, the aspiration is to be mega curvy and have a big bum and big boobs and be like Kylie Jenner or Kim Kardashian.
Everyone wanted a flat bum and to be skinny but have big boobs. That was the thing. Like you had to have big boobs. When you think about how much has changed in say 10 years between us being at school and your cousins being at school, it just shows you how fickle and meaningless trends for body types are. So that's another way that you can check yourself and have a reality check. If you're looking at a certain celebrity or a certain type of body that you think is better than your own for whatever reason, sometimes you need to take a step back from that and really interrogate why you think that. Is it just because that's what you've been exposed to? Is it because that's what the media is telling you is more attractive or beautiful or ideal? Because so much has changed. And it changes all the time. Think about the trends in history for different types of body.
Oh my God,
Ultimately, beauty is just a social construct without getting too philosophical about it.
It's true though.
It's true. We're all walking around in sacks of skin and flesh. We're all gonna get old, we're all gonna get wrinkly. Unless you're an athlete, why do you care? Speaking of athletes, I want to talk a little bit about exercise. This is not coming from a place of me being an exercise expert by any means, but what I will say is the time that I actually have enjoyed exercising, which was a revelation to me because for so long I thought exercise is just torture.
Punishment and torture.
It's punishment, it's hellish, I'm only doing this because I want to lose weight. The minute I turned that around and stopped doing it for those reasons and started doing it for reasons of I want to be fitter, I want to be stronger, feeling yourself getting stronger and mentally strong as well. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
If you do yoga, for example, that can be very physically challenging, but it's more about mental determination.
Yeah.
The minute I started doing exercises like that, and for those kinds of reasons, rather than just running to burn however many 100 calories in an hour, it just changed everything for me. I stopped seeing exercise as a punishment. I started seeing it as a way to nourish my body or even reward my body, because I was helping my body get stronger and fitter, and it made me feel good, like, oh, if I have to run from someone, I'll be able to run without dying. If someone asked me to drop and give 10 push-ups, maybe I can do, you know, like it was those kinds of goals. It wasn't about losing weight, because when it was about losing weight for me, I would get extremely demotivated extremely quickly, because my body does not change a lot, and it doesn't matter what I do. There have been times where I've been eating very little unhealthily, like calorie restricting, which is not a good idea in my opinion, but that's a whole other thing, and exercising very frequently, like 4 or 5 times a week, and my body wouldn't change that much. Yes, I would lose a bit of weight,
but it stays within a certain window.
Yeah, my shape and my size wouldn't change. I am not a naturally thin person, and I probably never will be. So the minute I came to terms with that and thought, that's not me, the minute I realised that being a size 8 was just not a feasible thing, and just didn't make sense for me to be, the minute I started feeling better in myself.
It's really good for me to hear you say things like that, because I know I'm not there yet, but knowing that someone like you has done that journey makes me feel like I can do it too. Something I want to mention is something that I am a bit hesitant to talk about because it's quite personal, but that is the topic of eating disorders. To give you some backstory on my situation, whatever you want to call it, this feels weird saying it on camera. I have struggled with an eating disorder for about 13 years, about half my life. Very condensed history of it is that it started out as a very restrictive eating disorder, sort of not eating for weeks and weeks and stuff like that, and then turned to more bulimic tendencies as I got older. I really want to talk about it because for me and for so many other people who I have spoken to about their eating disorders, such a huge part of the issue is shame, and this kind of core of shame that you carry around with you, and guilt.
And stigma as
well.
well.
Destigmatizing eating disorders is so important. Having an eating disorder, which I know maybe some of you guys who are watching this might do, so much of our collective experiences have been to do with shame and guilt and massive stigma that comes with eating disorders. And I just really want people out there to know that having an eating disorder does not make you crazy, and it doesn't make you bad, and it doesn't make you less worthy of self-acceptance and confidence than anyone else out there. You don't need to stay trapped in it. I'm working on it at the moment, and I've wasted a big portion of my life believing that I was just an eating disorder. But I'm not. I'm a person who has an eating disorder. If you want to hear more about this subject, we can do another video on that kind of thing.
I think you obviously have a very personal perspective, but I think
just generally,
in general, disordered eating is insidious, and is
sneaky and everywhere.
And even if you don't consider yourself to have an eating disorder, you might be actually engaging in disordered eating or have issues with food. So we can talk about that in a separate video, but it's important to mention, I guess.
And just put it out there.
It's a big part of like your body image, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want other people out there to feel less shameful about their own eating disorders. That's all I wanted to say, really.
So another thing we wanted to mention quite briefly, because again we could go into this as part of another video, but it's body image within a relationship. I guess it works either way, but from our perspective, being a woman with a man, people can get very hung up on insecurities or paranoia about their partner having like an ideal type that isn't necessarily them. Obviously a lot of people watch pornography and the body's reflected in that and not necessarily like the average or normal.
It's not like typically the exact type of person you see walking down the
and that's
street.
often a very specific kind of look or aesthetic. Sometimes, especially as women, we can find that very difficult to relate to, but I think for men as well, celebrities who will have six-packs, or the covers of Men's Health magazine get a six-pack in 12 weeks, that is not necessarily realistic.
Or healthy.
Yeah, I think people can get very hung up on who their partner finds attractive, who their partner's kind of celebrity crush is, if people follow models on Instagram. I know that that's very common, and I think, again, you just have to have a reality check. Remember that a crush is just a crush, a fantasy is just a fantasy, and that doesn't necessarily reflect on you. Or just because your partner finds someone attractive in like a fantasy context doesn't mean that they think less of you for
absolutely
looking
not.
like that fantasy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
You have to flip that on its head if you ever have those kinds of feelings, and think about who your celebrity crushes are, and does your boyfriend feel any less of himself because he's not Tom Hardy? Yeah, you know, just be realistic. Not everyone is David Gandy, and not everyone is
Whoever else.
Kate Upton.
Nor do we wish they were, because diversity is a good thing.
That brings me on to another thing, which is how broadening my perspectives and the types of bodies that
You actually see. Yeah.
has made a big difference to my own body image and self-esteem. Sometimes that's something that you maybe have to actually put a little bit of effort into,
Yeah,
because
I fully agree.
you have to sometimes seek out those kinds of images. But for example, plus size models or bloggers or people who have different bodies from you in any kind of way, however that may be, even like trans women, if you're cis, just broadening your idea of what beautiful is. You don't even have to connect it to yourself. Like, there are so many people that I admire so much, and it doesn't mean I want to look like them or be like them, but it's like, yes, like Tess Holiday, you're big and you are rocking it.
The way that a person's body looks, it doesn't have any bearing on anything, you know?
Confidence comes from within.
Yeah,
100%.
confidence comes from within. Just because you look a certain way doesn't mean you should have no confidence. Like, you can rock any size, any shape. I really believe that, and it's something that I want for my own life, and I want to see in other people's lives, is them just owning what you've got, because there are some things you can't change. Like, you can't really change your bone structure.
You can't lengthen your legs.
I don't know, there's so many things you can't do, really. I really want loads of freckles, but I get a few freckles in the summer on my nose, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to work with what I've got.
Draw some freckles on. Fake it till you make it.
This is the other point that I wanted to make. I really am a huge believer in every aspect of your life in faking it till you make it. If you don't love yourself, then
you just need to act like you do.
Act like you love yourself, because what's the worst that can happen? Either it's going to work and you'll start loving yourself, or you'll be in the same position that you were in originally, but you're not going to be any worse off.
People are going to hate on you whatever level of confidence you have.
Yeah.
You could be the most confident person in the room, and someone would find a reason to criticize you for that and be like, oh, she's so arrogant and full of herself.
Yeah.
Or you could be the most insecure person, and someone could look down on you for that and be like, oh God, she's so miserable. You can't put any bearing on what other people think, so you might as well just focus on you and feeling good.
Another thing that maybe we should all kind of think about a bit more is whether or not being beautiful is the most important thing. I feel like in our society, so often it is almost programmed into us that being beautiful is like this huge achievement. It kind of isn't. There are tons of things that you could do that are equally valid and important, and maybe even more so than just being beautiful. It shouldn't have to be this way where everyone aspires to just being beautiful.
It's not even just being beautiful, it's feeling beautiful as well. Like, yes, we want everyone to feel their best self, but I think a lot of the time something that kind of body posi movement neglects is that for some people, they don't want to be thinking about that, or it's just, I don't know, it's okay either way. It's okay to care about how you look, and it's okay not to care.
Yeah, like, it's fine if you don't want to adhere to that as your standard of how you measure yourself or anything like that. Like,
yeah, it's great to be confident, but
absolutely,
if your confidence is just completely unrelated to how your body is or looks, then that's okay too. Definitely. Don't feel like you have to give more attention to something if it's not already part of your life. Another thing is it's okay to have bad days and not feel okay. Yes, in this video we've been trying to talk about encouraging body positivity and confidence and all that stuff, but it's still okay to feel shit once in a while.
Yeah, someone very wise always tells me part of recovery is relapsing, and part of getting better is having bad days.
And being able to survive the bad days.
And being able to survive it, move on to the next one.
And not beat yourself up for having a bad day.
I think everyone needs to stop beating themselves up so much. We use everything as a rod to beat ourselves with, and who needs another one of those? Nobody. Not me, definitely not me.
We may have rambled quite a bit in this video. We have so many thoughts and it's definitely something we would like to talk about further.
Yeah.
We had so many things that we had to cut from our list of things to say because otherwise this would go on for hours.
Hours and hours.
The number one takeaway is acceptance.
Yeah.
You have to take baby steps.
It's a journey, isn't it?
You're not going to go from having low self-esteem one day to being Beyonce the next day. That's just not how life works. But what you do have to do is accept the body you have. You live in it. It's there for you. I know it sounds corny, but try to count your blessings and think, my lungs work, my heart works.
Yeah,
this body is getting me moving. It's getting me from A to B. I can breathe fresh air. I know that sounds corny, but sometimes those are the most basic things that you have to bring yourself back to. Yeah, just accept what you have, work with it. If you want to change it, then by all means go forth and try and change it in a healthy manner, but don't feel like you have to.
What would you rather do? Waste your life thinking about the things that are wrong with you and the things that are holding you back and the things that make you, in your eyes, a less good person than the person sitting next to you, or get out there and not let it hold you back. Get on with life. You only live once.
Yeah, life is too short. Eat what you want to eat, do what you want to do, wear what you want to wear.
Be who you want to be.
YOLO.
YOLO. That's it from us today. So if you want to hear more about any of the things we've talked about in future, then leave us a comment and let us know.
Each thing was a subcategory that we could go into.
Ramble for hours. So if you want us to expand on anything in future videos, let us know. We just want to hear from you guys, really. Like, how do you feel about these topics and issues? What helps you when you're feeling bad?
Please comment with maybe one of your insecurities or something that you love about yourself.
If you're gonna put an insecurity, you have to put something you love about yourself as well. I think that's a good challenge.
Give this video a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind, and share it with a friend if you think that this would help them.
And I think that's about it. So we will see you guys next time.
Bye guys, keep it cozy and love yourself.
Love yourself. You should go and love yourself.